there guys, I'm Renee. I am the owner and artist behind Chicly Reclaimed Decor, and on today's tutorial for Couture Paint, I'm going to be sharing with you how to transform this plain 3-drawer nightstand into this artistically refinished piece of furniture art. So after cleaning thoroughly with simple green or TSP based solution, I decided no way to these old bat wing style handles. So they were the first thing to go. I'm gonna be filling these holes. So my trick is to put a piece of tape on the back to prevent any of the product from leaking through. And of course, I'm gonna be using Paint Couture's embossing medium to do the job. This product is an acrylic plaster, so not only is it great for creating a raised look, but you can also use it for filling cracks and holes like I am doing here. Once everything was dry, I came through with an 80 grit sandpaper and I sanded everything nice and smooth. I also decided that I wanted this piece to have a nice stained wood top. So I started by sanding with an 80 grit sandpaper, and then I came back through with a 240 grit so it's nice and fine to get that nice and smooth finish. Let's take an up-close look at the Iflex wood molds we're going to be using to redesign this piece of furniture with. This mold is Flower Garland 1450. Iflex wood molds are wood composites that are paintable, stainable, and sandable, and when heated they become flexible, allowing you to contour them to a variety of surfaces. This mold is Floral Decorative Trim G0121. I love how detailed these molds are, and this mold might just be my new favorite. This is Rose Floral Decorative Trim 4150. We're gonna start by adding this trim right here. I started the process off by measuring on my drawer the length of the trim that I will need to cut off the roll, and then I marked it on my tape measure. You're going to need either a blow dryer or a heat gun to heat your molding up with. I have a heat gun here set on the lowest setting. These moldings do contain real wood and can burn, so it's very important not to get too close or stay in one spot for too long. You can see though, once heated, I am very easily able to unroll it, though I'm being sure to do this very slowly and not rush the process so as to avoid any breakage. So at this point, I switched up how I was unrolling the trim, and I definitely recommend that you do it this way because it allows gravity to naturally assist you in unrolling the trim as it becomes warm. Once unrolled, I marked it at the designated length I determined earlier. And now I'm just going to heat this back up because it's going to make it that much easier for me to cut like so. Now that I have my piece of trim, I'm going to heat it back up to flatten it back out and contour it to the face of this drawer. Next up, we need to glue the mold down. I like to use Titebond Quick and Thick, but you can use any multi-purpose or wood glue of your choice. I also like to have a thing of water and some paintbrushes on hand that I can use to wipe up any excess glue that may ooze out. I'm going to add my glue and then use a paintbrush to spread it evenly on the back of the mold. Then I set it in place, making sure that it's straight and even. And now I'm going to move on to contouring the top lip like you see here on the right. Once again, I'm going to use my heat gun to warm this mold up. Once it becomes malleable, I'm going to bend and contour it to the lip on this drawer. Then I'm going to tape it in place and use my wet paintbrush to wipe off any excess glue. This will ensure I have a nice, tight, gap-free bond, as you will see here as I remove the tape. Then I'm going to follow that exact same process for the rest of this Iflex wood trim to redesign this piece of furniture. Now their molds are down, it is time to prep. I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Premium Plus 2-in-1 Blocking and Bonding Primer. I'm using a pouncing motion to make sure I get into all the details on these Iflex wood molds. And this is what it looks like after 2 coats of primer. And now we're finally ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so for the sides of this piece, I'm going to be creating a raised stencil design, and we're going to be using this stencil Over the Hedge by Ciao Bella. This stencil is 8x8, obviously not large enough to cover the entire surface area that I wanted. So before I laid anything down, I measured to make sure that the design would be even on both the top and bottom, and that the raised stencil designs themselves would match up. If at all possible, I like to turn the piece of furniture I'm working on its back. It just makes it easier to work with. And we are going to be using Paint Couture's embossing medium to create this textured stenciled design. The one thing I love about this embossing medium is it has a smooth yet thick consistency to it, as you can see, so it makes doing raised stencil work very easy. For this part, you're either going to need a palette knife or another tool that you can use to easily spread the embossing medium over the stencil. At this point, I'm just making sure that all my embossing medium is evenly spread over the stencil design, and then I'm just going to wipe back any excess before I pull it off. And then I'm just going to continue that same process to lay down this textured design on the rest of this piece. And this is what the raised stencil design looks like after we are all done. For this project, we're going to be mixing up one of Paint Couture's Custom Colors Modern Terracotta. It is a 1-1 mix of this color, Modern Rattan, and Caribbean Coral. Making sure to stir thoroughly so the colors are well mixed. And no, we're not done yet. This piece of furniture is going to have a 3-color ombre blend. It's going to be going from the Modern Terracotta to a lighter shade of that same color into Candlelight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Modern Terracotta and I'm going to tint it with Candlelight to lighten it up a bit. And to make sure I get the proper proportions, I'm going to weigh out my paint before I mix it. This is the cup I'm going to be mixing my paint in. I'm going to put it on my scale and zero it out. This is an important step because this is going to prevent the weight of that cup from being calculated into the weight of your paint. Now I'm going to take that Modern Terracotta color that we made earlier and measure out 2 ounces. Next up, we're going to be adding Candlelight. With Paint Couture paint, it has a built-in top coat to it, so you want to make sure that you stir your paint thoroughly before you use it. I'm going to be adding 2 ounces to the Modern Terracotta for a total of 4 ounces. This is the color that we ended up with. It was a little too light for what I was going for, so what I did is I came back through and I added just 1 more ounce of their Modern Terracotta to this mix. Okay, and these are the final results. So we have our Modern Terracotta, we have our Modern Terracotta that has been tinted with the Candlelight, and we have the Candlelight itself. We're ready to blend. When I'm blending, I like to have a paintbrush for each of my paints, a neutral blending brush, a mister bottle, and a rag to wipe down my neutral blending brush between blends to keep it clean. Okay, so now that I have my colors mapped out as to where they're gonna go, I'm gonna lightly spritz with my mister bottle. I'm gonna take my blending brush and I'm going to go from side to side, up and down, finishing off by moving side to side until I am happy with my blend. I am working section by section here, that way I have control over my work time as well as my paint. And I'm going to make sure to wipe my blending brush in between so that way it's not contaminated with another color when I go to blend here. And these are the results after just one coat of paint being blended. I removed the drawers so that way I could do the blend on them separate from the rest of the nightstand. And 2 coats later of beautifully blended paint, these are the results that we have. Wait, hold up. Did you all just see that? This is why it is so important to remember to turn over your piece of furniture to paint the underside. That way you know you have full coverage and you can avoid having a potential eyesore later on down the road. Next up, we're going to be adding some decoupage designs, and I'm going to share with you how to remove them from the sheet on which they come. If you have a water pen, that's great. Otherwise, just have a wet paintbrush. And what you're going to do is you're going to simply trace around the edge of the design. This will allow for you to easily tear your design from the remaining rice paper, as well as giving you a feathered edge for you to easily blend the design on your painted piece. Next up, we're going to be adding the decoupage paper to the drawer. I'm going to be using Couture's Decoupage Medium in Matte, and decoupage paper is sheer. So what you need to do is you either need to have a light color underneath or preferably white. I'm going to be using Candlelight. Once everything is dry, I'm going to lay down my decoupage paper and work section by section. Brushing half on the drawer, then I'm going to lay down my decoupage paper, and I'm going to use just a plastic piece from a garbage bag to brush out any air bubbles. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, finishing off by brushing the decoupage medium over the whole design. And again, I'm using that plastic piece of garbage bag to smooth out any air bubbles. And now I'm going to take my paint and blend in the edges of this decoupage paper so it matches. Now that our decoupage papers are down, we can move on to my favorite part, dry brushing. We're going to start off by dry brushing this mold with Rose Gold Luxe Metallics. The key to dry brushing is to pretty much wipe most of the paint off of your paintbrush so it is quote-unquote dry. I use long sweeping motions from side to side and up and down. For the rope aspect, I'm going to be doing the same dry brushing technique using Couture's Pale Gold. This is part of their original metallic series. It does have real metal in it, so it is important to make sure to stir thoroughly. Because dry brushing is a technique that's done with such little paint, it can take a few layers to obtain the look that you're going for. But trust me, it's worth it to take your time to get these absolutely phenomenal results. And last but not least, do you guys remember that wood top that we sanded down? Well, we're going to use Couture's Glaze Amber Honey as a stain. Yes, as a stain for wood. I will show you. After I got the edges all taken care of, I'm going to go with the grain, then against, then with. Then I'm going to take a rag and wipe off the excess stain. Notice how I didn't tape my edges? That's because all I have to do is take a wet rag and simply wipe back that excess that's on there. That's the beauty of having this water-based stain versus an oil-based stain. Not only is it easier for cleanup, but there's also no smell, and these are the beautiful results that you can get. After sealing an extreme guard top coat, the last step for me and any furniture makeover is the hardware. We took this piece of furniture using Couture paint and Iflex wood products from a plain Jane 3-drawer nightstand into this artistically refinished piece of statement decor. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm Renee, the owner and artist behind Chicly Reclaimed Decor, and you can follow me for more furniture flips as well as painting tips. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more painting tutorials using Couture paint.